So, welcome to Wisdom and Wealth. Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 lies that you might be telling yourself that are holding you back.
This is Donna and this is Jim, each with a family that had to begin again. As they've brought their worlds together, they've learned a lot about blending families and finances along the way. Now, they're here to help you take on this new chapter with clarity and confidence. This is Wisdom and Wealth, financial clarity for families in transition.
Well, welcome in, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Of course, Donna, and welcome in to you. And Jim, welcome in, my friend. We're going to talk about these 5 lies we might tell ourselves, or at least maybe 5. We maybe do 4, 6, depends on how many we can get through. Depends on how long we talk about them. But, we all do it as humans. We all have, some sort of place where we kind of fool ourselves a little bit. And so let's just jump in and talk about a few of these. Whoever wants to tackle this, I'll let you roll. But, let's start with the I know it's kind of probably a played out word now, the YOLO, the you only live once kind of person who just says, hey, I'm going to spend it while I'm here. I'm going to have a good time, And so nothing wrong with enjoying yourself, Donna, but you got to be a little bit, realistic, don't you?
Hey, 100%. Like I say, my job title is a certified financial planner. Planner is in my title of what I do. So I love a plan and I'm okay with a little bit of joyous spending. But if you have all the other boxes checked, and there are many people, especially in the circles I run in through widowhood, right? Or divorces, like, oh no, like I see what can happen. I'm just going to spend it because you never know when you might go. And I'm always like, ooh, yeah, but you never know when you're going to make it to 96. So you got to balance that. But Jim and I both have very different backgrounds with money, especially when we were younger and how we spent, right? And so
okay, do tell.
Yeah, like I was always squared away. Like I was excited to get my first 401k.
Okay.
And Jimbo, I think you ran on cash for a little while there, didn't you?
Yeah, I was squared away. I didn't have debts. I just spent it as it came in.
Yeah. So so if you didn't have it in the cash, you didn't have it.
Yeah, I didn't. Like I said, I wasn't like some people here, like they build up a lot of debt and they just keep running it. I didn't have any of that. It was just I was living for the day, and I wasn't planning on living till 90. Let's put it that way.
Well,
But
I'm
at the
with you
same
there.
time, I remember you saying like you wanted a shore house when you were younger and in high school. So you got a second job to make sure that you could afford that shore house because everything else that you made.
Renting a shore house. It made it sound like I was saving to buy one. Big difference.
little price difference.
Yeah, a little bit. Little
bit.
Good clarification.
Okay. Well done. Okay. Well, I was going to say, have you always been a carpenter, Jim? You always been in the trades?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So I know a bunch of tradesmen, and they're one of two ways, right? It's like, I'm real tight with my budget, making sure everything's good. And the other ones are like every gadget or every new thing to maybe make the job easier, they're spending that money on, right? So it's like, got to live for the now, right? Got to make my life as easy as possible. So,
sure.
I can certainly understand going either direction, but as we start to age, we start to kind of go, maybe I need to start thinking about squaring some away a little bit. So
I think too, when you talk about being in the trades, you always feel like, I can just do an extra job to pay off or to pay for something or it's because it's only my time.
True.
So I do think you can just take that on a lot easier than someone that say works in an office. They can't just take on Saturday work to make quick money.
True. That's true. Yeah. Very few places anyway. There might be a few out there that let you do that. But okay. So the only live once. All right, Donna, how about the person who's, I'm behind the 8 ball, which so many people feel like when they come to see financial professionals like yourself all across the country, right? I mean, talk to all sorts of advisors. They every week they see somebody coming in going, I'm behind. I know I'm behind. I'm trying to make up for lost time, so I'm just going to, whatever. I'm either going to take more risk or I'm going to like save and live really tight. And I'm sure you see that on the regular as well. And often people they come in, they see someone like yourself and they find out they're not in as bad a shape as they thought they are. But, if they are, is that a lie that we tell ourselves that, I'm going to save later because you never do?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people say they want to save later simply because they feel we call it competing needs, right? So they want to pay the mortgage down. They have kids that they want to send to school. They want to be able to keep a spouse at home to help raise the kids. Like, so they're like, they just feel like they need to spend right now. They can't think about saving for the future. That's just going to be future Donna or future Jim will have to deal with that.
Right. Right.
But to your point, I think a lot of people, when you actually do sit down with a financial advisor, you realize like, wait, my net worth is actually pretty good. We
Yeah.
have a lot
What?
of equity in the house, right? Or
Yeah.
something like that. But I will
Yeah.
say I have a lot of my clients that are coming post divorce where what they thought was the goal plan, what they thought was the financial plan is now either divided in half or just doesn't exist anymore. And so a lot of it is where do we start from here, right? Because as we all know, there's only three things you can really do. You can work longer, you can save more, you can spend less. But what is that happy medium, right? To enjoy life right now while being able to still use all of your advantages with tax deferred savings and things like that to save for the
Right.
future. So a lot of that becomes education of what opportunities we have moving forward.
Well, Jim, to expand on that, a lot of people, for lying to ourselves, will say, well, you know what? Since I'm going to make later Jim deal with this, later Jim can cut back on expenses when he's older, right? And I mean, ask yourself, like, seriously, like if you're, even at 40 and you're saying, okay, at 65, I'll trim the fat a little bit. Do you really want to do that when you're older? Do you really want to change your lifestyle and go backwards? I would think most people don't. I know I don't.
No, I don't think most people. I do. Well, I think that's a general lie. Most people, I think,
Right.
feel like they can just make up later.
Yeah.
And I do want to say what I was talking about earlier about spending as it came in. I'm definitely not that guy now.
Right. You learned.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just realized I actually don't need a lot to be me. It
Okay.
doesn't cost a lot to be me.
No haircuts. You're
No
fine.
haircuts.
No haircuts.
Oh man. Shots fired.
Always. But no, you just feel like I was actually, I guess the older you get too, I'm not out to, my entertainment cost is way down. Like I don't need
It's
a lot
true.
I'm happy just being home. I'm happy just with being
Well,
with Donna.
That's a great point though. So maybe that's where the lie originates from, right? Because we feel like, hey, as we're getting older, we're just not, I don't need to go to a concert a week or, whatever it was that we were doing when we were younger. But I think that's still a little bit naive, Donna, to say I'm just going to cut my expenses when I'm older. Because, hey, if nothing else, the medical is going up. So is it really a fair conversation?
Yeah, and it's a lot of people are talking about inflation. It's such a hot topic,
Oh,
right?
God,
And
it's killing us, right?
getting it under control. And what a lot of people are kind of not wrapping their heads around is that's future inflation. Our prices have already inflated. A $10 pizza that's now $17 is probably not going to go back down to $10. We're all at paying $17. So even though we might have saved thinking, all right, we're only 70, 80% of what we live on now in retirement, well, the value of the dollar is going to feel very different, right? And we have to take that into consideration moving forward. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of those general retirement lies that I think people have swallowed for a very long time, is that I can get by on 75 or 80% of what I was doing during my working years. And time again, that research has come back to say it's just not the case. And it's certainly not the case of the last 20 years, because to your point, inflation, taxation, whatever. And of course, medical, like I said a minute ago, it's higher than regular inflation. So, it's going to only stay high as well.
Yeah, many of times we feel as if it's double of what we currently are taking into consideration in people's financial plans, the cost of college education, the cost of medical. And then too, like, are we really in the tax structure as a society, right, for government that we think we're going to be in 20 to 30 years from now? I'm of a firm belief personally that we're in one of the lower taxation grids that we might ever experience. I think it's just going to be getting higher. And so I take that in consideration when I'm personally saving for me and Jim for retirement. You do too, right, Jim?
Absolutely. That's all I think about. Yeah.
Make sure you answer this correctly.
Can't stop thinking about it. That's it.
It's on your mind.
One of those other lies that I think we all tell ourselves, I'm jumping in, is like, we're going to be okay. My spouse is handling it, right? Like
Sure.
I sit down with Jim. I'm like, look, like everything, we have a portal and everything's linked up and I have the estate documents and like he knows who to go to if something happens to me, who's a new financial advisor and who's the executor of the will. And he's like, okay, that's good. It's really important to me that you know that stuff. But many of times you're like, I believe you have it handled. You have a wife who's a financial planner. Other people, they maybe don't want to deal with it. They just stick their head in the ground. They figure, oh, my spouse has got it, right? Well, their spouse might also have a gambling problem. You don't know, or a girlfriend on the side. Be careful. Things change. Sorry.
Well, Jim,
Work in this space.
you do have a little bit of an advantage, right? Which allows you to maybe kind of zone back a bit because of what Donna does for a living. But that's a great point she makes is oftentimes, and it's weird because, most of the time when it comes to financial planning, the men do tend to take the lead in the relationship, in the role. However, going through you've been married to somebody for 40 years, it's usually the wife that's taking care of the budgeting around the house and dealing with the kids and, all that kind of stuff. But for some strange reason, when it comes to the financial future, it seems like the guys always kind of plan that or take the lead on that. And it's not smart because you've got to inform the other person. If you're not married to a financial professional like you are, Jim, and having that inside track, you've got to have a basic working knowledge of what your retirement's going to be like. And I really think the ladies need to have this as well because, look, the statistics are what they are. We tend to die first. Mm-hmm. So if we're leading the charge and you haven't gotten your spouse up to par or up to speed, or at least know who to talk to, you're really doing them a disservice. And I don't think anybody wants to do that.
No, I think even the traditional roles from decades ago of the woman staying at home and raising the kids and the husband, making the money for the family. Right. And really the woman was the one doing all the budgeting, like you would say.
Really, yeah.
And I never understood why the man, even though he was working, I guess he felt like it was his paycheck. I don't know what the ego thing was, that mentality back then, but it was like she should have really been doing all of it because she knows what things cost. He came home and just stuff was done or bought or taken care of. I just think I just never understood why, if you're in a relationship with someone, whoever is, if that's their gig or if they're better at it or they're more organized, they're the ones it doesn't matter who it is. Yeah. They're the ones that should be handling all of it.
But you still need to know.
Oh,
right?
You have to know. Absolutely.
Donna, the other person's got to know, right? And I know you're big on that. When someone says, "Hey, I'm coming to see you for, a consultation," and you're like, "But my spouse, whomever it is, isn't into it, so it's just going to be me." I know that that's something that you're not crazy about. You really want both parties to have a working knowledge. I mean, Jim, okay, so I'll kind of bring it into a car conversation real fast. We all know how to drive a car for the most part, how to operate a car, but not everybody wants to know how to build the engine, right? Mm-hmm. And Donna, I think that's where you kind of say, no, I really need everybody to know how to drive the car, financially speaking.
And that's it. It is I call it the financial transparency, right? And I also have to know because as a financial planner, I feel, and I am fiduciarily responsible for both of them, right? So I need to have a working relationship with them both. I need to know how they make their money decisions, and I need to know what is their comfort level, right? So let's say the person who does enjoy the finances all of a sudden is out of the picture, they pass away, right? Where do I have to start with the spouse with education as to just the or can I use jargon, right? Like, what is an RMD, right? The husband might have known, the wife does not, right? Or vice versa. The wife knows where all the safe deposit keys are. Husband has no clue. And so it's a way of, I call it my protection planning, to make sure that both are on that same page, but having them both sit at that table for that financial plan and both checking in at least once a year. That's really important to me to be able to safely and in good conscience take care of them.
Nope, I think that's a great point. I got one more I want to do. I don't know if we got through 5, but I'm going to do one more anyway. And I was thinking about the car thing for a second. I taught my daughter a lot about cars as she was growing up, and she's actually a car gal. She knows more about them than I do now, so she's pretty funny. She's like, she was just here for the holiday weekend here, and we're taping this in late July as we're doing this recording. And she was here helping me fix something on my car. And she's like, you should just give this to me because I know more about it than you do. And I was like, you're making a good argument, but you're not getting it yet. You need to wait. You need to wait till I'm a little older or gone or something.
She's paging through your estate documents.
She's already thinking about that. So finally, she knows what I do for a living. So she's like, you got to make sure that she's like, am I updated on your beneficiary designations? And I'm like, really, kid? Really? I'm not even dead yet. Give me a minute. All right, Donna, last one. So a lie we tell ourselves is, look, all the technology out there, all the resources out there, I don't need to hire somebody. I can do this myself. And I'll frame it this way, and then I'll let you take it from there. when one of the cheapest options out there for DIYers is Vanguard, to do a lot of things yourself, when they put out publications fairly regularly that show advisors actually bring a lot to the table, that should be a significant, an identifier that maybe an advisor is a good idea, right? I mean, when you can do it yourself with a lot of options, that's great. But there's a lot of things you guys bring to the table outside of just the return, right? There's so many other pieces in there. So jump in on this one.
Yeah, and there's a little difference there between just doing investments yourself and doing a financial plan. And that is really knowing where are your sources of income now and in the future. What tax brackets are you in now and in the future? How do you use retirement savings well to your advantage, especially those that come from your employer? There's no robo-advisor that's going to page through your annual benefit onboarding website with you. They're not. Right? Like, I don't know any robo tech that does that. I'm sharing screens with my advisor or with my clients and literally going page by page, like, ooh, there's benefits for your pets now. That's a new offering. Do you have a brand new puppy? Maybe we should get that while it might eat socks. Like, things like this moving forward. There's a personal nature to it, as well as protection planning, right? So where's our life insurance, long-term disability, our short-term disability? How can we protect one another? Do we have enough should something happen to us? None of us, like I talk about all day long, but I really don't think any of us really like talking about the fact that we might not be in the picture. How do we protect that other person? And so it's those conversations and the education that is so much different than using technology to put your investments in a diversified asset class, right? And then on top of it, even when we here at Sefton Financial, when we create our portfolios for investing, because we do, that's asset management. We invest people's money. We have what we call risk mitigation. Now, most of my clients have actually either lost a spouse, lost someone bringing in half of the income, or been divorced, right? So what are they most concerned of? Not losing their money, right? So we're talking about what do we have to protect that downside risk? When the market goes up and down, and it does, when the market goes down, how does our portfolio perform differently, right? And I don't know where that conversation about why we have a positioning in our portfolio, how that can be fulfilled with a robo-advisor.
Yeah,
and a lot of
that's a great
people
point.
also believe they can't afford one, right? And that's so different, right? And that's why do-it-yourselfers will do it yourself many of times, because either they don't want to part with money, or they say money's a very personal thing. Like, I don't want the judgment of someone else sitting at that table, right? And we'll just know we're here not to judge, we're here to help. And that's what most of the people need to sit down, and they can find advisors that work within their budget, their transactions, right? And it's the cost of mistakes sometimes.
That's actually a great point for me to bring Jim in on this, because Jim, so many of us, can be handy at home. I mean, you're a carpenter, you're a professional. And when I was building a couple different projects, I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I could do this, this, and this. But it was what happened down the line that got me into trouble, right? I started to build something and I wasn't thinking about this, the seventh step in this. And that's what Donna's talking about here. It's one thing just to DIY your income or your investments by, having an account at Fidelity or whatever. It's another thing to think about, hey, if I cut this wrong on step 2, step 7's really going to be a problem. And how do I fix that, right? And that's where that knowledge comes into play.
Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, we talk about too. It goes back to that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. You give it a shot, do something. In fact, if anything, it'd be better. I think coming at it from both angles is the best, because if you hire, say, Donna, but you do have an interest and you do really are into it and not just blindly taking it, you're getting your money's worth. You're learning and you're doing and you're participating, and you're making Donna's job easier too, because you're actually giving her everything she needs and being on top of it. But no, I think. Yeah, and plus, I think Donna had said when we first, early on when she first started, we had talked right when she started her career, and I didn't understand why she wanted to talk to me about financial planning. This is before we were a couple by any means, because I didn't think I made enough money to have a financial planner. In my mind, growing up, middle class, blue collar, it's like that wasn't for us. That I'm no
Rockefeller. I don't.
Yeah, there's no asset. What are you talking about? And then I see now, wow, the importance of it.
Yeah.
Just knowing and seeing everything. It's a lot different.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons too. Like I have a designation as a CDFA, a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, right? And that is really for helping out someone understand like what are their rights to their money during a divorce, right? And what is considered community property, or should it not be, right? What could be an inheritance that is yours, right? What is the titling, and how does that impact things? And so for someone to say like I don't have enough wealth, quote unquote, to have a financial advisor, no, that's it. We're here to help you keep the wealth you do have. And that's why I'm really happy that we had that designation. And I remember saying that to Jim, like back again, when he wasn't my Jim, when he was a carpenter working in my house, being like, no, you have the reason to have a financial planner. You have a pension, you have income, you have 2 levels of it, you have 3 kids, you have protection planning. Like, why wouldn't you have one? And yeah, he was like, yeah, that's right. I don't have one. Walked away.
There you go. And now he sees the light. So
now he has one.
There you go.
Now I have
There you go. Well, good stuff. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us and talking through some of these different lies we tell ourselves. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, folks. Everybody does it, right? We all procrastinate. We all tell ourselves little fibs to get us through various things in life. But when it comes to your money and your retirement, your future self, make sure you're having the right conversations. As always, if you need some help, reach out to Donna. We'll have all the links in the show description of the episode as always, but it's seftonfinancial.com. That's seftonfinancial.com. So just reach out to her, get some time on the calendar, have a conversation for yourself about your situation, and always, always, always check with a qualified professional before you take any action on something you hear on our show or any others out there, because everybody and their brother's got a podcast now. So make sure you're checking to see how it relates to your situation. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple or Spotify or YouTube. And we'll see you next time here on Wisdom and Wealth, Financial Clarity for Families in Transition with Donna and Jim. We'll see you next time.
Registered representative offering securities through Cetera Financial Specialists LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Cetera Investment Advisors LLC. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. Sefton Financial LLC and Cetera are not affiliated. Sefton Financial is located at 8200 Flowertown Avenue, Suite 1B in Windmore, Pennsylvania, 19038.